Picture this. It's 2 in the morning. The room is dark except for the glow from your phone screen. You've been checking every 30 minutes for days, maybe weeks. And there it is. Your portfolio balance finally ticks over. $10,003. You did it. You made it to 5 figures. A quiet fist pump into the dark. A wave of relief and excitement washes over you. You're not just playing around anymore. You're in the game. This changes everything. Cut to a month later. Same room, same phone glow, but now you're just staring. The number is 9,400. A decent dip hit the market. And the sinking feeling in your gut is worse, so much worse, than anything you felt before you crossed that $10,000 line. The anxiety is different. It's heavier. What if I told you that crossing that first big number is exactly where your real problems begin? My name is Sam, and let's talk about the uncomfortable truth of portfolio milestones. It's not a linear path where more money equals less stress. It's a series of psychological phase shifts. And each new tier, $10,000, $100,000, $1 million, comes with a completely new set of hidden traps that nobody warns you about. The game doesn't just get bigger, it fundamentally changes. Let's start at the beginning, the $10,000 crossroads. This is the threshold where you stop being a dabbler and become a stakeholder. Up until now, that money might have felt like play money. A few hundred here, 1,000 there. It was percentages on a screen. But something flips in your brain when you see that comma. The money becomes real. Here's what nobody tells you about that shift. Your brain stops thinking in percentages and starts thinking in life cost units. At $1,000, a 10% dip is $100. You think, oh, that's a nice dinner out, no big deal. At $10,000, that same 10% dip is $1,000. Your brain doesn't see 10%, it sees a car payment, it sees a month of groceries. The unit of measurement changes from abstract percentages to tangible chunks of your life. This triggers something psychologists call loss aversion. Studies on retail traders show that the pain of losing $500 from a $10,000 portfolio is felt as more than twice as intense as the joy of gaining $500. You become hypersensitive to drops. And the data shows this isn't just a feeling. Look at on-chain behavior for wallets holding Bitcoin or Ether. Wallets that cross the $10,000 mark for the first time have a significantly higher probability, like 40% higher, of moving funds to an exchange within the next 90 days, compared to wallets hovering between 5 and 9,000. Why? Because the urge to do something becomes overwhelming, to take profit, to lock in the win, or to sell, to stop the pain. Think about Jake. He's 28, a graphic designer. He finally hit 10,000 by dutifully putting a bit into Ether every month for 2 years. The moment he crossed it, he couldn't sleep. He started checking his phone constantly. A 5% dip felt like a personal failure. So he sold 30% of his stack at a small loss just to secure some principal. He broke his own DCA plan. And then he watched the market rally 80% without him. His entire goalpost moved. It was no longer get to 10,000. It was get back to 10,000. The milestone he worked for became a source of regret. Let me be clear about something. The math of percentages doesn't change. A 50% loss always requires a 100% gain to recover. But you change, and that changes everything. The $10,000 level is an exam. It tests one simple thing. Can you handle the emotional volatility that now mirrors the market's volatility? Most people fail this exam the first few times. They get shoved back below the line, and they have to learn that the play money mindset is gone forever. But if you think 10,000 is stressful, wait until you add a zero. Because at $100,000, the game changes from protecting your money to protecting your future. This is the pressure cooker. 100,000 is FU money in the movies. In reality, it's now everyone's watching money. It creates what I call compound pressure. The weight of potential future gains or losses becomes absolutely crushing. This is where lifestyle inflation on credit becomes the silent killer. Let's actually do the math on this, because it gets uncomfortable. A $100,000 portfolio needs a 33% gain to recover from a 25% loss. You start at 100 grand. A bad week takes you to 75,000. To get back to 100,000, you need to make $25,000. But that 25,000 is 33% of your new, smaller $75,000 base. The drawdowns hurt more because the dollar amounts are now life-changing. And this is where your brain and your social circle become your biggest enemies. You start mentally spending unrealized gains. You have 100,000 in crypto, so you think, I can afford this $500 a month car upgrade. Seems reasonable. But let's run that math too. That's $6,000 a year. If your portfolio was generating a generous 10% yield, that's 60% of your annual yield now servicing a car payment, not compounding for you. Then there's the tax awakening. A 20% gain is no longer 2,000 cool bucks. It's a $20,000 tax liability you need to plan for. The numbers get real in a very bureaucratic, very adult way. Think about Priya and Sam, a couple in their early 30s. Their combined portfolio hits 108,000. They should be celebrating. Instead, they start arguing. Sam wants to take 15,000 for a dream vacation. We earned it, he says. Priya wants to stake it all and let it compound. They're paralyzed. They compromise by doing nothing, frozen with indecision. But, in their heads, they've already upgraded their apartment and their car. So when the market dips 10% and that mental new car vanishes, it feels like something was stolen from them. The money isn't just money anymore. It's a repository for all their future dreams. And that is a terrifying amount of pressure to put on a volatile asset. The $100,000 tier feels like success, but it's a trap. The risk isn't just a bad trade anymore. It's making life-altering decisions based on paper gains. It's the dissonance between feeling wealthy and knowing, logically, that one bad cycle could cut that number in half. Your financial capacity for risk has gone up. You could technically afford to lose more. But your psychological capacity for volatility plummets. Because the stakes are no longer a nice dinner. They're a down payment on a house, or being debt-free, or taking a year off work. So you navigate the $100,000 gauntlet. You think a million is just 10 times away. Simple math, right? But the final gate isn't about math. It's about identity. And at $1 million, you face the most dangerous opponent you've ever met. The person you become. Here's what nobody tells you about becoming a crypto millionaire. The moment you see that seventh digit, that comma, you are no longer trading against the market. You're trading against the ghost of your former, poorer self. And that ghost is screaming at you to never, ever let this slip away. $1 million is less of a financial milestone and more of an identity transplant. Statistically, you are now wealthy. And the entire driving force of your strategy does a 180. It shifts from aggressive growth to desperate preservation. This seems smart, right? Protect what you have. But in a volatile asset class like crypto, a conservative mindset can lead to catastrophic mistakes. Let's talk about asymmetry. At $10,000, you might have been willing to risk 50% of it for a chance to 10 times your money. The upside was worth the gut-wrenching downside. At $1 million, risking 50% to get to $1.5 million feels insane. Why risk $500,000 for just another $500,000? But risking 5%, $50,000, to try and double it to $2 million feels trivial. The risk asymmetry warps completely. And in warping, it often causes you to miss the very kinds of asymmetric opportunities that got you to $1 million in the first place. There's data on this. Analysis of long-term holder wallets suggests a significant portion of first-time crypto millionaires do something you wouldn't expect. They cash out like 80 to 90% of their stack And they often do it within 18 months of hitting the mark, frequently near local tops. That's the preservation instinct kicking in. Get out, take the win, put it in something safe. But then, the market keeps going. A new bull run starts, and the FOMO is unbearable. So they take that safe money and FOMO back in, often at higher prices, with a fraction of the capital they originally had. They secure the bag, only to then reach for a much smaller one. Then there's the phantom income problem. A 10% yearly gain on $1 million is $100,000. That's a massive salary for doing absolutely nothing. It creates an illusion of financial genius and breeds complacency. You start to believe you've cracked the code. This can blind you to systemic risks you used to be paranoid about. Exchange failure, regulatory shifts, the absolute necessity of self-custody. When you're making a CEO's salary for watching charts, it's easy to get lazy, to think you're bulletproof. But let me show you the most practical trap, the millionaire's tax trap. Let's walk through it. Say you have $1 million in Bitcoin. Your cost basis, what you originally paid for it, was $50,000 you've held for years. You decide you want to diversify, maybe move 20%, $200,000, into some other project or into DeFi. You sell that $200,000 worth of Bitcoin. Your capital gain on that sale is $150,000. You haven't made a new trade yet. You haven't invested that $200,000 into anything new. But you now have an immediate tax liability of roughly $35,000. You owe the IRS a new car because you decided to adjust your portfolio. This reality changes how you think about every single move. It adds friction and fear where there wasn't any before. The dream of $1 million is freedom. The reality is often a paralyzing fear of losing the winner status. The money can become a gilded cage. You're terrified of doing the wrong thing, so you do nothing. Or you do the supposedly safe thing, which, in a crypto context, might be the riskiest thing of all. You are now in the prison of preservation. So, if each tier comes with its own psychological minefield, is the solution to just not make money? Of course not. The solution is to see these milestones for what they really are. They are not financial targets. They are psychological checkpoints. They are exams. The $10,000 exam tests your emotional discipline. Can you handle real money being on the line without letting dollar thinking override percentage thinking? The $100,000 exam tests your life management. Can you integrate this wealth into your life without letting it inflate your lifestyle or paralyze your decisions? The $1 million exam tests your identity integration. Can you hold wealth without letting the fear of losing it dictate every move you make? Failing an exam doesn't mean you lose all your money. It means you stall, you regress, you suffer stress and regret until you learn the lesson it's trying to teach you. Jake had to learn the $10,000 lesson about emotional discipline. Priya and Sam are struggling with the $100,000 lesson about life management. Your next goal isn't $100,000. Your next goal is developing the emotional and logistical stability of a $100,000 holder before you get there. Your target isn't $1 million. Your target is the psychology of the person who can hold $1 million without it holding them hostage. Let that sink in for a second. You are not managing a portfolio. You are managing a series of psychological phase transitions. The skill you needed at $1,000, which was basically patience, is useless at $100,000, where you need tax and legal awareness. And that's different from the skill you need at $1 million, which is legacy planning and identity stability. So the next time you check your portfolio in the middle of the night and you feel that knot in your stomach when the number dips below a line that feels important, I want you to ask yourself a different question. Don't ask, how do I get the number back up? Ask, which exam am I failing right now? Is this the dollar thinking panic of the $10,000 level? Is this the lifestyle inflation fear of the $100,000 level? Or is this the preservation paralysis of a future millionaire? Master that self-diagnosis. Chase the version of yourself that can hold that number with peace and strategic competence, not with white-knuckled fear. Because if you can do that, if you can see the milestones as checkpoints for your own growth and not just digits on a screen, then the numbers will follow. And you might just find that the money eventually becomes the least interesting part of the whole journey.